Hey guys, what's going on? Lane back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Metal Lords. Metal Lords is an American teen comedy that tells the story of a group of high school teens. Kevin and Hunter live a relatively mundane existence as high school students, except for the fact that they both love metal music. This leads to the two starting a band, though Kevin struggles at first due to his initial lack of experience. The two rush to hone their craft in preparation for their school's upcoming Battle of the Bands competition, but find it difficult without having a bassist in the group. They eventually team up with a cellist named Emily to fill in the role, as everyone undergoes the trials of playing in the band while dealing with personal problems at the same time. As a long-time metal music fan, I was really looking forward to seeing this one, and it definitely didn't disappoint. It has some problems with its narrative, but on the whole, it managed to tell a surprisingly wholesome story about the struggle of being an outcast in high school, while doing so in comedic fashion. Kevin, the first of the three main characters, was the one that I identified with the most. Although he loves metal music, he's very much the opposite of what one might consider to be a metalhead. He's very meek and quiet, dresses conservatively, and is socially awkward. But his passion for music becomes evident right away. He starts off in the marching band, which is the perfect segue for his foray into metal. He then starts practicing on a real set of drums, and over the course of the story, his confidence and skills begin to grow more and more. I enjoyed seeing Kevin become more assertive in his abilities and how natural his transition developed. Hunter was definitely the main driving force of the band from the outset, as well as being the greatest source of comedy. He is obsessed with striving for the band's success, to a point that he's a constant headache for pretty much anyone outside of Kevin, and even their dynamic becomes testy after a while. The dramatic angle to his character is something that could have used a bit more work. His mother left the family when he was in 7th grade, which could explain why he dives so hard into music, but it's never examined beyond surface level and doesn't have any tangible effect on the story, despite him clearly having been affected by it. In general though, his character was also well done. He is not afraid to get in people's faces and pull pranks or tell things like they are, often resulting in him getting caught in amusing shenanigans, but also in serious situations as well, which forces him to reevaluate his attitude and how he associates his identity with metal. The final main character, Emily, surprised me with how memorable she was. As much as I personally identify with Kevin, I think she was the best character out of everyone. She adds an awkward charm to the group with a personality similar to Kevin and a passion for music similar to Hunter. What I like most about her character, however, is how her mental health is portrayed. She has depression and has to take medication to get through her day without having an emotional episode, and while she clearly suffers from it, it feels a lot more grounded than exaggerated in its approach. I was impressed with how real this movie got at times. All of these characters have life challenges outside of the band that they have to overcome, and they're all presented in a mature and realistic manner. It nails the topic of a group of outcasts who struggle through high school life and are looking for a place to belong. Even when the trio are able to find that place and relate to each other in terms of music, things don't just magically get better. Emily and Hunter are the definition of oil and water, as Hunter has preconceived notions of what it means to be metal, and he decides that Emily doesn't fit that mold. This puts Kevin in a tough spot, as he values Hunter as a friend, but also values Emily and wants a life outside of the band. There's a believable sense of friction between the bandmates that grows over time. I've never played in a band before, but I can imagine this kind of tension happening between people who are in the same band and have the same interests, yet they still don't get along because of personal reasons. In this way, the movie promotes a good message about acceptance, not just of oneself, but also others, and that people don't have to agree on everything as long as they're able to find some way of cooperating toward a common goal, in this case the goal being empowerment through music. The musical elements were by far the most fun parts of the movie for me. As someone who loves old school metal music, especially thrash, I was constantly geeking out at all of the references to different bands, their music, and the visual iconography spread all over the place. A number of famous metal tracks from bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica, and Black Sabbath are used to transition between scenes, which maintains a consistent energy throughout the movie as characters are practicing their music or find themselves in outlandish scenarios. Something else I appreciated about the music was how well executed it was on a technical level. I'm not sure if the actors were actually able to play entire songs by themselves or if there were stand-ins in some parts, but the film is shot and edited in such a superb manner that I was able to suspend my sense of disbelief either way. This contributed to my immersion in the story and helped me focus on how the characters develop their skills. One scene in particular stands out to me, in which Kevin and Emily play War Pigs in sync with each other. There's no dialogue at all in the scene, yet the looks on their faces say everything about the culmination of their hard work. The comedy further adds to this movie's entertainment value. I was actually surprised at how much I laughed when watching this movie. It makes good use of its R rating with a healthy amount of swearing, graphic album covers, and people posing as experienced musicians when they are complete amateurs. As As I mentioned earlier, there is never a dull moment whenever Hunter is on screen. Whether he's hamming it up in a Dungeons & Dragons game or telling a fabricated story in English class, he never fails to generate laughs. Even his bumbling father ended up being a highlight for me, especially with how he banters back and forth with Hunter about his sexual escapades. My favorite moment in the movie was how Emily called out Hunter on his use of the word gay as an adjective to describe a girl being into metal, and the camera pans to all of the explicit male imagery around his room. I couldn't stop laughing at that part, and it also raised a good point about the use of sexual imagery in metal music. There are tonal shifts in the story that can occur at random. A dramatic argument between two characters may end with a funny quip that feels out of place, or a lighthearted scene will suddenly become serious. There were a few times where I wasn't sure how I was supposed to react to what was happening, which left the impact of that scene feeling hollow. I also thought that the bully character Skip Hoffman didn't add much to the story. He's just a bland brute who has it out for Hunter, though Hunter doesn't do himself any favors either with how he antagonizes him. I think bullying was a good topic for this movie to approach with how teenagers can be affected by it, but it's not explored as much as it could have been. There is a great character in the movie played by Joe Manganiello who helps Hunter reach a sort of turning point in the story. I won't spoil the context behind it, but he was fantastic in his role. Kevin also has a turning point as well, supported by 4 cameos from famous metal artists, which on top of being meaningful, was just a ton of fun to experience. All of this taken into consideration, the thing I appreciate the most about this movie is how the characters actually behave like teenagers. In a lot of high school oriented movies these days, I've noticed actors look a lot older than their characters are supposed to be, and the dialogue that comes out of their mouths isn't really convincing. But here, it's the complete opposite. The characters look like teenagers, speak like teenagers, and act like teenagers. There were so many times where I was able to relate to the characters' personal struggles, such as with friendship, falling in love, losing virginity, and having interests that nobody else has. And anytime a movie does this, that's a big accomplishment. Overall, Metal Lords is a great comedy flick that goes beyond being another typical band movie, exploring the struggles of adolescence and promoting acceptance while wrapping it all in an entertaining package. If you like comedy movies and you're looking to watch one that's set in a high school setting, I think you should check this one out, especially if you're a big fan of metal music, because there are a ton of Easter egg references to take away from it. While there are some issues with how its story is presented in terms of balancing comedy and drama, the characters, themes, and abundant presence of metal more than make up for it. It is a head-banging good time that I think every diehard metal fan can relate to and enjoy. What did you think about this movie? Did you like how it went about portraying teenage characters, or was the amount of focus on metal music a bit too excessive for your liking? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Metal Lords. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Korean spy flick Yaksha, Ruthless Operations. Bye bye!